Everyone agrees. All right, you may begin. You said you were talking about the typewriter today.
I think they only use that as obituary. It's the only part.
Ooh, good job.
My presentation is on Doc Henry Holiday. The mouse working?
You know, someday I'd like a break.
Who was he? John Henry Doc Holliday was born on August 14th, 1851 in Griffin, Georgia. He was the only son of Jane and Henry B. Holliday. He learned to play cards and use a gun while he was growing up in his uncle's home near Atlanta. And he had a sister, Martha, but she died just 6 months old before Holliday was born. So he's technically considered a child. But it doesn't mean he didn't have a sibling. His father actually adopted a Mexican orphan boy he found during his service in the war in Mexico and took his home as a foster child. His father was a planter, lawyer, and politician. Well, the only thing I could find on his mother was that she taught him Southern etiquette and values. So, yeah. He was born with a cleft plate requiring corrective surgery, which was a source of financial concern for his family. And when he got older, he went to the Pennsylvania College of Dental Surgery and graduated in 1872. He briefly practiced as a dentist at the Atlanta office of Dr. Arthur C. Ford, and he was known to be a pretty talented dentist. So, however, unfortunately, he got something called tuberculosis, which is a very, very bad disease. He he managed to live over a decade with the disease, probably, and to combat the disease, he decided to move to Arizona, to the west coast of the United States, with a drier climate, and he's hoping it would kind of ease symptoms a little bit. He tried to set up a dentist practice there, but it didn't really work, so he turned to gambling instead. Because, of course, the only logical conclusion. He became widely known. I went too far. Sorry.
Once again, I'm gonna whine. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. He became widely known for his gambling activities, particularly playing Faro, which is a card game that became popular in the American West during the Gold Rush era. He was recognized for his steals, usually as a dealer in the game, often found in saloons and gambling halls across the frontier. He was often associated with the nightlife of towns like Dodge City, Kansas. Doc Holliday met this woman named Mary Catherine Maroney in the early 1870s, specifically at Fort Irving, Texas. Their relationship began at a saloon where she was working and became a couple later on. It was not a very great relationship. It was quite toxic, and she did fire a gun into his pillow when he was sleeping. Which is mad at him. It's quite something.
Sign of something.
Yeah, she was something. Mary Catherine was born in Hungary and would be the companion of Doc Holliday. They had a violent relationship. It was not great. She would become a very well-known character of the Wild West after Doc Holliday passed away, and she lived till she was 90, just continuing sort of Doc Holliday's legacy of gambling. She usually waited at tables where it's the dealer who made the pronounce it. This other guy, Wyatt Yarp, I think, Herb. Oh, Wyatt Herb. Was Doc Holliday's best friend. They met. I don't know where they met actually. I don't have that written down there. Oh no, he was a city marshal in Dodge City, Kansas, and Doc Holliday rescued him when he was surrounded by desperados. Testimony, okay, not really testimony, but yeah, collection of his friendship. And they were lifelong friends after that encounter. Were Holliday passed away.
And by the way, what's the little picture in the corner? That's obviously not them.
This? Oh yeah, this is the adaptation from Tombstone, the hit movie that you should all see if you haven't already. This is Wyatt and this is Doc. Played by Chris O'Donnell. Holiday was really skilled at gambling because he was educated, and it wasn't very difficult to be skilled at gambling if you just know basic math. Especially of this game Pharaoh, where it gets easier and easier as you go on. It's all you have to do is figure out in your head what cards are no longer in the deck, which will be explained soon, I promise. He wasn't really a mathematician, but he was a highly educated individual, which is why it's the game. All right. So Pharaoh.
Bring a gun.
Yeah, you usually have to bring a gun. It's required. There wasn't quite a lot of shootouts through this game because everybody thought everybody else was cheating when they really just knew basic math and hard works. So this game is pretty simple. What you need is 13. So you need a full deck of cards, and then you need 13 cards, like one of each card. So ace through king in another deck. And what happens is you give everybody certain chips. Make it black ones could see.
Because it's less of them?
No, because I had to use your desk and there's more of them.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so how this game works is everybody's gonna choose a card that they think I'm gonna pull out of the deck. So the first card is like a bluff card, so it's a 10 of diamonds. And the suits don't really matter in this game, you're just betting what number I actually pull up out of the deck next. So what card do you think? Is okay. Or you can bet what a bunch of
No.
if you're really.
Play it all.
Say what eight draw. Say what do you.
2 on queen.
2 on queen. It's really complicated.
1 on 7.
All right. So after all the bets are played, then shuffle the deck once. Probably should take note.
Cheater. Don't take my money.
Actually,
Well, we should be filming.
Well, technically
Alright.
we're not, because the camera is facing away.
Good point.
Okay, so the
I can move it black and go on.
Sorry. Okay, so the card that I draw, whoever had, if you have your bet on the winning card and you get your and they double, I can bring extra chips, but I forgot.
So can I just take Sid's? Oh, that's right, let me take Fiona.
And if you lose, the dealer is actually in a really great position for this game because if you don't pick the red one, then the dealer gets your chips. So the card is a 4. All of you lose. You're bad at gambling. So now, if you want, you can all move your bets to a different one, or you can do a copper bet, like these pennies, which means you can bet on what card you don't move. A little bit more of an advantage. Like you can bet on a card that you don't think.
It's like majority of the cards.
Also, I'll bet on 10. Actually, for the sake of it, I'm just gonna going like let somebody else. So,
We've got one more hand, then we gotta get going.
yeah, sorry. Okay, so Fiona just talk bet on 10, and then everybody else. Oh, sorry. Okay. Card with a 4 again.
Okay, this is
They
cheap.
lost all his
That was
money.
my kid's college fund.
I got money. You did get money.
10. What's that?
So Fiona would get her chip and then she'd get her penny back. Okay, that is how you play Pharaoh. There are a couple other different bets you can make, but they're a little bit more complicated, so you can play those. All right, so this was kind of the major event that solidified Doc Holliday's reputation in the Wild West, gunfight at OK Corral. This occurred on October 26, 1881. There were these guys, the Cowboys, and these guys are Erb, sorry, are the Earp brothers, and then Doc Holliday's in there as well. They were at a saloon, and so the Cowboys were a group of kind of, I don't know how to describe them. criminals, I guess you could say, that just kind of went around terrorizing towns in the Wild West, because they thought it was funny. Uh, and so they came into Tombstone, Arizona, which is where these four were kind of living. They had been living there for a while. And there was a whole game of Pharaoh. The Cowboys lost very badly. And so they challenged them to a gunfight because they figured that Doc Holliday had cheated as a dealer. What happened in this gunfight was that these three died over there. They were dead. And these, I think Doc Holliday and Wyatt were injured. The funny thing about this gunfight is that three of the Cowboys didn't bring guns. I don't know why they just didn't bring guns. And they weren't the ones that were killed. Only one of them was killed. Well, there was one that, what was the one? What's the Clanton? So Clanton's the one with the half gun over there, and it's not totally certain if he brought a gun or not, so I gave him the gun. But it was it was not really a bloody battle. It lasted like 20 seconds, and then these guys came up dead up there. And this kind of solidifies this was overhyped over the years and solidified Doc Holliday's reputation as like a Wild West gambler and like gunman.
What song was your prairie dog on?
There is a prairie dog on it. He's there too.
Oh, wait a minute.
He was the referee.
Once again, I'm gonna whine. What did you do?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
He was the referee. Okay. Sorry, my notes are all. In the late 1880s, Holliday's health continued to decline very quickly, and he sought treatment for tuberculosis in Glenwood Springs, Colorado. So he spent the last couple months of his life there. He died there on November 8th, 1887, at just the age of 36. His death was attributed to complications from tuberculosis, though there are people that claim he died of alcoholism because he didn't drink a lot. That isn't true, but I really think it's probably the people he died. I think his legacy is probably one of the biggest things that you could know about Doc Holliday. So there are plenty of books and movies and stories about him. The most famous of which being Tombstone, which I had pictures from earlier. That's this movie where it kind of details the gunfight at OK Corral in the climax of the movie. It's not entirely, it's probably about 70% accurate to what actually happened, but it's a really good movie. I do recommend it. It detailed their lives in Tombstone, Arizona, and then Doc Holliday's the end of his life as well. There are some other ones too. There's a annual Doc Holliday pickleball tournament in Griffin, Georgia, in his hometown. So I think we all need to take a field trip.
You used to get pickleball.
Yeah, definitely. And then Toby Keith wrote a song called Huckleberry about him. I haven't listened to it, but based on Toby Keith's other music, I'm sure it's great. And these are my sources.
Any questions? So what year did he die?
1887.
So he had tuberculosis for a while. I mean,
Yeah, he was diagnosed, I think, early 20s, so he had it for about 16 years.
that's a long time to be that.
It only ever got really bad in the last 2 issues of his life, so he actually lived with the disease, which was not very common.
And the question, yeah, Doc Holliday, interesting life. That's Tombstone's. It's okay. There's a really good movie about it called My Darling Clementine from 1947. Kind of like what they were doing this stuff. It's really good. It's really good. John Ford. And okay, any questions? Good job. Nice. So try to know a little bit more about Pharaoh, kind of go into some of the history, more about the individual game. And if everything goes right, we will play Pharaoh after the exam because it's a really easy game because you play it all fast.
Everybody.
And somebody, you have to keep your cards here.
I have a whole set I can bring.
You might want to borrow them too. No, we play on next Friday then.
Oh yeah, no, I have an actual set of cards.
And you know what else I have? 2 for $1 deck for the Pharaoh. Yes, only the best.
Me and Ryan get fun.
You want the paper?
I don't want paper now.
Oh,
Paper, next, but give me, you give me.
The paper, they did print some of those on one of the back pages. I don't know why I did that, but.
It's,
Yeah.
John's there, I guess. All right, who's gonna talk about the typewriter now?
I guess I'm.
Its name is Ken.
Well, if we did, Doc Holiday, it seems like we should do. When? We do California Gold Rush? Kind of fits in. Fiona, I can't find it.
Oh, can I not submit it? I'd like to go if I can. Let me try resubmitting or sending it to an team chat.
Well,
Or
let me just check one more time too. For some reason, it.
No, you gambled it all away. That's.
Yeah, go ahead. Go. I'm just,
I bring the cards? Yeah, definitely.
let me just see one thing really quick. Okay, we got it. We got it. Give me one sec. All right, go.
In 1848 and ended in 1855. There was a lot of people that thought that it ended in 1852 because of events that occurred that I'll get to. So this is James Logan Marshall. He was basically the start of this whole journey. He went on, I guess you could call it a business trip for his work. He discovered gold at the Shutters Mill, which was the prime location of this event. He was partnered with John Shutter, who owned Shutters Mill. It's all taking place in Coloma County. Okay, so early on, before the gold rush, James W. Marshall was born in New Jersey. He followed in his dad's footsteps of becoming a carpenter. He was a very calm person, I guess you could say, but after he discovered gold, a lot of people had mixed feelings about him because people were going in different places in San Francisco to go find gold. And everybody thought that he was gonna rob everyone because he was following people around. And like whenever somebody found gold, he would like follow them to their house or wherever they were going. So everybody thought he was gonna be robbed.
Why? That is really weird. Okay, go on. Well, by the way, it's not Shutter. It's,
Sutter?
yeah, there's no H.
Oh,
I get it reading on the computer screen, so, yeah. It's okay, though, you're fine.
I thought I might have misread that.
Yeah.
Honestly, actually, that might be on me. But this is Sutter. I'll pronounce it right now. He was born in Germany from Swiss parents. His parents died early on, right after he graduated from high school, so he was kind of on his own. But he joins the army after his mom died, and then his dad was around for a little while when he was in the army, but not for super long. I believe that his dad was actually in the Swiss Army before him, and I think that's why he went. So both of these two followed in their father's footsteps. I couldn't really honestly actually find why he started the mill. I guess it was kind of just something that he wanted to do. Because there was really no reason to be done. prior to his discovery, San Francisco was actually not a very well-known town. It was nicknamed Sleepyport Town because there was nobody there, but then the gold came around. There was an increase of 15,000 people in less than a year. I think the actual number was like 9 months. 15,000 people had came from like just around the world, everywhere. But only those select 15,000 people actually moved to San Francisco or California. Some were just like traveling in and then they went back to their towns. These are just kind of how people transported from what regions of the world, like the settlers, Utah and Oregon, they sailed across. Easterners, I thought this was interesting because some people actually like were walking like on foot from wherever they came, and it took them like years to get to California. By the time they got there, the cold was gone. I was very confused why they were walking. There was actually pictures of people that they were taking like through their journey, like actually walking on foot to like California. And then this was around the time when people were starting to build houses, so they were taking natives off their land because they wanted to build houses on their land from the gold that they had. So natives were pretty much just like on the streets or wherever they could find land. Oh, I will take more.
Go back.
Sorry.
No problem.
So, it was before California was known to have a lot of money, so that's Samuel Baranin, I think it's how you say that. He was California's first millionaire, and he became the person that he was actually one of the people that Sutter would follow around because he was finding for the most gold in areas. So he was California's first millionaire because of gold. This caused state genocide because of just the events that were happening. Some people actually got scared that there was so much gold that they actually left California because they really didn't know what was happening. And some people moved to neighboring states, which I kind of thought was interesting. Why would you leave if you could get money out of just mining and leave? So that's Silicon Valley today, and it was compared to 19th century gold rush because of its influence of global talent and high stakes of innovation. And I think there where one of the museums is, so that piece of gold that was in a slide flyer was actually featured in a museum. I guess it had, maybe it was the first piece of gold found. I don't really know what its history was, but it said that it was involved in the gold rush. In what way? I don't know. So shortly after the gold rush, or during the gold rush, this is why everybody thought that it ended in 1852 because Sutter, my bad, became bankrupt, and he owned the most land that anybody had ever owned in California. That's how many acres he had. People, since this started at his location, people honestly thought that it was over and that there was no more gold, so they stopped mining for a few months because he went bankrupt. But really, he just spent all his money. So I'm not really sure why people thought that it went bankrupt or that it had ended. It was kind of confusing. And then, so in some places in California, people described the gold rush as a great curse because they thought that gambling shouldn't be allowed because a lot of people didn't have any money left and most people were living on the streets after this because they couldn't afford a house, groceries, basic needs like that. So they said that it was a great curse of the region, which I thought was very interesting.
You know any other towns besides San Francisco boom during that time?
I believe Placerville was one of them. Silicon Valley was in there. Stockton
Yeah.
and Paloma. Of course, Paloma was the start place of this. Those were really all that I could find. Yes.
And boomed up, a lot of gamblers came in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Always playing Pharaoh. Other questions? Yeah, it is interesting comparing it to Silicon Valley. I've seen that a lot.
Yeah.
It's like the same kind of boom and a lot of people lost their shirts. A few people made it rich. All right, good. Oh yeah, question. Yeah. Has anyone been to Bannock?
Yeah.
Who's been to Bannock? If you get a chance, Bannock is cool. We should do a field trip. Yellow school bus?
Oh.
You guys walk, I'll take the school bus.
Yeah.
All right, good job, man. Actually, if you get a chance, Bannock is really cool. And since we're kind of doing an Old West theme today, we got Doc Holliday, we've got the Gold Rush. Let's go to Deadwood. I just noticed the bottom, very good.
Not in need for the subtitle. So usually with my past topics, I always misunderstood something fundamental about what a topic actually is. And so that's been, but this time I understood it perfectly, so there's no need for a quick subtitle, it's just definitely perfect. It's not, but,
You will be docked.
No, would be subtitled.
okay, so this is a picture of Deadwood, South Dakota, and like the very, very beginning, it's Hagen. From the historical society in that town. Yeah. So. The legend. Okay, so Deadwood was the most notorious gambling town in the West, full of gambling halls, brothels, dance halls, miners like for gold. It's also just like a hodgepodge of a bunch of different groups that came to the gold rush, which lent the town its like distinct flavor. I kind of view it as essentially the lost and found bin of American history. You're gonna see why in a sec. So right here is a picture from the HBO series. So embodiment of the legend that would come to define this town.
And I do like how you put the Wild West friendship trademark there.
Yeah.
Very clever.
That's essentially what Deadwood has become. Now that the gambling, now that the heyday is over, it's just living off that trademark.
Yes.
Okay, so before all of this, we are in the Black Hills of South Dakota. The Black Hills were sacred to Sioux. It featured many sacred sites, one of which being Wind Cave, which is the site of their creation story, which is a really fascinating Dakota creation story. Anyway, which featured the bison. But anyway, point is, the idea is the creator led humankind into the earth through this cave system, where the people saw the bison and learned from the bison. So essentially, their equivalent of the Garden of Eden. That's how sacred this land was to them. So there is a picture of Wind Cave. There's a picture of the bison, who the early humans learned from. This is one of the signers of the Fort Laramie Treaty we talk about, and that's his great-great-granddaughter today. The Fort Laramie Treaty. So it was signed in April 29, 1868. It essentially recognized the Black Hills region as part of the Sioux Reservation. In exchange, the Sioux ended up giving up thousands of acres of land that was promised to them in earlier treaties. They also retained hunting and fishing rights in the Black Hills. In exchange, they promised not to attack white settlers or the railroads. So this is an actual picture of the Fort Laramie tree.
You just hit that button, if you're anywhere on the screen, it should.
I'm hitting the left button on the screen. It's not working. Anyway, not even 10 years later after that was signed, Custer's expedition kind of trooped through the region in 1974. With them were miners. Now, second, they struck gold, triggering the gold rush. And so the miners/settlers demanded the U.S. Army protect them from the Sioux hunting in the region, which was their right. In 1875, there was a gold deposit found in Deadwood Gulch. 1877, the U.S. confiscated the Black Hills. Deadwood would be officially established at the same year as the Battle of Little Bighorn, just for sort of context. So the rise of Deadwood and all this conflict is happening pretty much in conjunction. It is inseparable. Which brings us. Yes, and I can throw down the arrow.
That was on mine, this second. Where'd you do this?
Imagine.
A new screen opened up.
Which finally brings us to Deadwood. So Deadwood was established illegally. So it was named for the dead trees surrounding the area. It was officially established in April of 1876. So 1 year before the U.S. would confiscate the entire region. Within like a month, there were brothels, gambling halls, dance halls, saloons like established along Main Street. We call it the Badlands. So for context, it would be like we went out on Mount Helena and during Christmas break, and then in the next 2 weeks, we would have all of downtown. So pretty fast. In June, they had their first newspaper. In July, they got their wagon train. So a full town. So there, the tents is a picture in 1876. So the year the town was established, you can see tents, trees. Right here is the wagon train, which would be essential in transporting people, goods. It was the lifeblood of the town. And right here, a little bit later, is Deadwood's Chinatown. So just reinforcing the idea that all kinds of people came here for the gold rush. They also celebrate the 4th of July with fireworks, which is crazy because they're a legal town. They aren't recognized they're not, anyway. Which brings us to our wide cast of characters, most famous of which is Wild Bill Hickok, American folk hero. This guy was everywhere. His family had their house was a stop on the Underground Railroad. He went and fought in Bleeding, Kansas, for the abolitionist movement. He was involved in a massacre. He served the Union Army, was a scout for Sherman's March, Winfield Scott, and General Custer. And then after all of that, he made money doing Wild West shows in the city, but he was really miserable doing that, so he went back out west and left for the Black Hills. So he traveled on that wagon train with Calamity Jane. He had got married, but he kind of ditched his honeymoon to go make money. And in that town, he became a peace officer. And then in August of 1876, so not long after the town was established, he was shot in the back of the head in a bar during a game of poker, the Nuttles and Man Saloon, by Jack McCall. His hand, his cards would become to be known as the Dead Man's Hand. McCall claimed it to be an act of vengeance for Wild Bill killing his brother. It was interesting because at the time there were no laws in Deadwood, and so it was like, okay, what's gonna happen? So a group of miners set up a makeshift trial in one of the theaters. What's the theater's name? McDaniel's Theater. McCall was deemed innocent and he got out of town. However, McCall boasted so much about killing Wild Bill that a U.S. Marshal arrested him in Colorado and they brought him to another trial. Trial was also illegal because it was held in a territory. But anyway, McCall was found guilty and was hung. So, more of the story, if you kill a famous figure, don't run your mouth off about it.
Life lesson.
Thank you. And this trial's actually reenacted in Deadwood today, so field trip?
Okay. There's a big tourist crowd there.
Mm-hmm. So he was hung in 1877. On that wagon train with Bill Hickok was Calamity Jane. She was born in Missouri, named Martha Canary. And at age 7, her and her family moved to Montana. Both her parents died, leaving her to raise her 5 siblings alone. During this time, she followed railroads, military camps, gold mining camps, kind of across what was then known as Wyoming Territory. She participated in 2 expeditions. She was known for dressing in soldiers' clothes, tending to the sick during the smallpox epidemic, swearing, drinking, cussing, which is only notable because she was a girl. But then in Deadwood, she would also work as a cook, cleaning, dancing, waitressing, and as a prostitute. She would leave and then come back at age 47, and she died 7 miles away from Deadwood, I think near Lead. And Deadwood businessmen, they heard and they ran out and they literally scavenged her body, brought it back to Deadwood, and immediately buried it right next to Wild Bill Hickok, because Wild Bill also buried that town, literally to make money for the town. It's like, come and see her grave. She's right next to Wild Bill. Which honestly, it's so cold. Anyway, so Calamity Jane.
Great. No,
Great.
not with you.
Now, Alice came later in the town's heyday. She came as Alice Ivers. She was a widow, and she gambled to support herself. And later, when she settled down, she gambled to support her growing family. She had a phrase, she would say, pray the Lord and place your bets, I'll take your money with no regrets. She was known for her cigars, and like a very good poker face. Over her lifetime, like she claimed to have won like 20 or like worth with $2,500,000. It's like 4.85 billion today. She claimed she never cheated. She was charged for bootlegging, but the governor pardoned her, so I think that's funny. But yeah, Poker Alice Tubbs. Now, okay. So there were many brothels in Deadwood, run by many different madams. So the women operating brothels. There wasn't that much competition just because the demand was so incredibly high. When the first prostitutes came in on the wagon train, there was literally a parade in the streets of Deadwood. So one of the madams was Madame Dorothy Fraun. She was born in Liverpool, England, and immigrated to New Jersey with her family and then settled in Nebraska. She got into the business of prostitution at age 13, 14. And then she worked in dance halls, calling herself Amy Helen Bullenshaw. Later, she moved to Deadwood and started a brothel, picking up the girls that arrived on the wagon train. One of the girls was actually Calamity Jane. So they had a close relationship. She had a pet parrot. But she also opened brothels outside of Deadwood. One of these establishments, she wanted to claim was like very respectable, quote, like a place you could bring your mother. One of the patrons highly disagreed, saying he would never want his mother to know he was there. But who knows? There were lots of madams. One of them was interesting. She had a relationship with an African American comedian. So again, just lots of people, bustling town. And so that's the true Jordan. Seth Bullock. I'm not sure if you guys notice a trend here, but everyone kind of makes their fame outside of Deadwood or after leaving Deadwood. And then Deadwood is just like the weird crossing place. Again, lost and found box of American history. So this guy was born in Canada, and then I think in 1860, his father had to resign as the county treasurer because of missing funds. So his father left, leaving the wife and the children alone. Then the mom died, leaving just the 5 kids. And then a couple years later, their house got seized because the dad was really bad with mortgage, had debts. So it was either seized by creditors or auctioned off. Anyway, he ran away from home a lot. Eventually going down to Helena to live with his sister. During that time, he tried and failed to become a member of the territorial state legislature. However, he was then elected as a Republican to the territorial Senate and actually helped make Yellowstone a park in 1877. Then was formally became sheriff of the Lewis and Clark County, really important when it comes to Deadwood. In 1876, he realized there was probably a really good opportunity to open a hardware store in Deadwood. So he and his friend Sol Star go up there and operate their shop. It started as a tent, but then moved into a building. And then a couple of days after he arrives, Wild Bill is murdered. And there's become a very big want in the town for some kind of law enforcement authority. And so 1877, Lawrence County is created, Deadwood inside it. And so now they need a sheriff. And so, well, during election season. And so Seth Bullock is appointed by the governor to be this interim sheriff. And during his 9-month tenure, he like deputized residents inside the town to help clean up. He was known for like a hard fist, but he did it without killing anyone, which is crazy in this town. Anyway, he settled down, tried to run for election many times, be the actual sheriff, didn't work out. And then he left and became best friends with Theodore Roosevelt, and became one of his Rough Riders. And they were such good friends that he built the friendship tower in his buddy's honor. So just a wild guy. And it's still there. And there's the Bullock Hotel named after him. Anyway, so then we have the Gem Theater. So the Gem Theater is like the most notorious Deadwood landmark. It was established by Al Swearingen, who was like bad individual. He and Bullock had many run-ins together. But Al Swearingen was really good at bribing powerful and affluent people within Deadwood to ensure the ongoings of his operations. Operation being the Gem Theater. So Al Swearingen would beat, bully, cajole, lure desperate girls off the wagon train to work as prostitutes in the Gem Theater. During the crackdown, he formed political alliances once the wall started closing in. It burnt down 3 different times. The last time, the wrenches for the hydrants were stolen. And so clearly someone wanted this thing to burn to the ground. Did. He rebuilt it twice, but on the last time he just let it burn. Anyway, the guy left Deadwood, and a few years later was found dead in a streetcar in Colorado. this day, it's unsure if it was foul play or not. I hope it was. I think he deserves it. But yeah, that's the Gem Theater, and right here, that's Owlsbury. So, floods and fires. It's the same problem we have in Montana with floods and fires. Again, the whole town burned down 3 times. The worst one was in 1879. It left 2,000 people homeless. And this is kind of the beginning of Deadwood's decline, because a lot of those people left homeless would actually just leave Deadwood, because there wasn't anywhere for them to live. It would also be the start of the beginning of like new safety standards, so replacing timber buildings with like brick and stone, so it'd be more resistant to future fires. It also flooded, but it was just hard finding dates for all these things. But this is a level of devastation after that 1879 fire. It's just decimated. But they built it back in like 6 months, which is wild. Yeah. And again, and they had a very similar scale fire, in the like late 50s. Only one day, but a lot of devastation. Okay, modernization. So this is over like the entire course since it got established. For some reason, Deadwood actually got modernized faster than a lot of other towns in the Midwest. They were one of the first towns in the West to get electricity. They got telephone wires only a year after the historic phone call to the White House. They got railroads, passenger trains, electric trolley running through the town, Carnegie Library. And unlike a lot of places in America, they actually prospered during the Great Depression. Here is the first automobiles that appeared in Deadwood. Here is a picture of like the 2 railroads converging. This one I just wanted to include. That was a Jewish business. So again, all kinds of people in Deadwood. Regulations. Very intriguing. So one of the first regulations.
Okay, we're gonna stop right here. We literally have like, would you finish the last couple minutes
Okay.
tomorrow?
I'm not
Okay, public preliminary applause, can I get off?
I'm not here tomorrow.
Okay, we're gonna hold off on this. It's gonna be a cliffhanger until Tuesday. Sound good? Nice job. Deadwood is a really great, have you been there?
No.
Deadwood's really cool. Black Hill's beautiful. I forgot to sign it. You think it an official one?
You take my second promise. Yeah, she still has been to the live station. Oh, wow. Wait something.
Hey, you know, red.
Well, that's what I was considering
Go.
doing it, but then I
I'll
thought.
see you
I'm on it.
soon.
It's definitely one of the
You
less.
got that
ones.
list, so you
Yeah,
research
that's what
it.
it is.
You have paper.
Crazy. It's.
You don't get paper.
No.
You still got a lot, you still got
I will.
You'll get it done. Nice job, everybody. We'll pick it up tomorrow.
Yeah.
Reese, don't leave. Can I steal your stuff? No, your car stuff for fair. We have fun.
Tomorrow?
Or you bring it tomorrow, bring it Tuesday.
I will
Stop
be
in
here
your bag.
tomorrow, but I can bring it.
Bring it Tuesday.
Okay.
So I have some stuff, but in case we need it,
Yeah.
and then I'll give it to Gypsies. Sound good?
Yeah. What? I got like a whole.
I'll give it to Wandering Roma
Piece
people.
of chips, so we're.
Perfect. Tomorrow, you're gonna make, you're gonna record some grades and you're gonna make feral board. Oh, no, you can probably do it Tuesday. Sound good? Feral board's easy.
Can we go over an example short ID?
We'll talk about it, yeah. So they're really easy to make, it's hard more than, it'll literally be fun.
Okay, that's short.
So we'll do it on Tuesday, sound good? All right.
Oh, typewriter. Okay, we're having a little bit of a dilemma. Jesse, do you want to talk about it now? Okay, someone in our front room. It's like, how can we just die? It's so